listeners. Thank you again for taking the time out of your busy day to join us. We're continuing with our theme, which is the everything and anything about Team Planner. I'm sorry, the new Microsoft Planner, I should say. And today, I think it's a very, very practical and something that almost everyone out there probably uses on a daily basis as a project manager, which is scheduling, whether it's waterfall, agile, or hybrid for that matter. And this is really the subject of today's webinar. Again, please don't forget to join our YouTube channel, subscribe, like us. If you miss any part of this or would like to rewatch this webinar or any other webinar for that matter, they're all on our YouTube channel, which I will leave the links in our chat. If you have any questions, please also put them in the chat on a Q&A section. We'll address them as they come up or at the end. Again, we're going to keep it very concise, keep it to 30 minutes, and hopefully we'll cover all the material for you. And without further ado, here's Alex, our Microsoft MVP, and he's going to be going through the scheduling in Planner.
Thanks, Yuri. Not currently, not current MVP yet. MVP out of 9, but we'll see. Well, thanks everybody for stopping by over here, and we're excited to have you show all this new stuff that are coming up in Planner, in Microsoft, and Planner is obviously our focus here. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna go through the scheduling, segueing a little bit back and forth between Planner and Microsoft Project. There's a lot of this came from Microsoft Project, and Microsoft Project by far considered to be the gold standard for all the scheduling, now called dynamic scheduling. So a lot of this is inherited from Project, and for those of you who are familiar with Microsoft Project, a lot of these things will look familiar as well. And you see more and more things that are happening and getting into Planner from Project. So let me share my screen. Actually, share the screen. So I'm sharing my screen. You let me know when.
Yes. Yep, we could see a screen.
Yeah. So we're gonna go through. We're going through this pretty casually. I mean, I really don't have like a very strict way of doing this. So this time around, since this is live webinar, feel free to just ask a question if you want to do something for me to try something out. Hopefully, I'll be able to either show it to you or at least we can flag this for later. But basically, essentially, when you get to the planner, and most likely you already know, you're already familiar with what you're looking at right now. It's part of your Office apps or Microsoft 365 apps or Copilot apps. Microsoft keeps changing these names. You have this planner, right? So you get to your planner, and it's basically you have here typically my tasks, my day, right? My plans, right? And then you see my portfolio. This is relatively new. We can definitely look into the portfolios as far as mastering, as far as master schedules, because in the project we did have those master schedules. So very, very similar concept here for these portfolios. But if we open any of these projects, we would get to the scheduling, and that's what we're going to be focusing today. So let me go to my plans, and I'm basically here going to say, here's my plan. I'm going to create a premium with all kinds of bells and whistles, bells and whistles there. I'm going to say this is our 007 webinar. schedule. All right. Okay, so yeah, at my pin plans. So now it's going to show up on it's pinned over here, and now it's going to just create a blank plan. So one thing I'd like to really show you is this quick Copilot, uh, and the reason I'm not really going to show you the Copilot features as much, it's just easier to schedule a demo set of tasks. Probably easier than I do it manually. So I'm going to say create a construction plan. Construction plan for my what I know, it's the 5-bedroom house, right? So what it's going to do, it is going to create this outline and then actually create those tasks. So we're going to need those tasks to kind of show you all kinds of things what we can do from the scheduling perspective, from the dynamic schedule perspective. Basically, at this point, I don't need the Copilot anymore. Thank you, Copilot. So now I have nice, layout of tasks, and I can, do my webinar and show you all the dynamics that we can create as part of the schedule. So you can see that Pilot is smart enough to already put this into the tasks and summary tasks, right? So this is a summary task, and these are detailed tasks. And this is the same. All the rules that we had for dynamic scheduling in MS Project are basically, inherited here. So we do like to create assignments at the detailed level, and we don't like to create assignments at the summary level. And in some circumstances, you can see that, for example, I cannot even assign anybody at the summary level. And that is something that is inherited from the project. Although in project you can actually do that, but that creates a lot of confusion. But as far as project detailed task, right? Detailed task, I can create and assign in this case myself to all of this task. So that is a good help, a good good feature from Planner. Thank you for that. And obviously we have all kinds of start and finish dates, and you can see by default we don't have any start and finish dates. This is where we would either say, well, let's kick this off on on a certain date, or we can say duration. Doesn't matter which one. Well, it doesn't matter if you do just put a duration. If you do put like this task is going to take me 5 days, this is automatically going to assume that this task is supposed to start today, right? And that's kind of, it's probably not a fair assumption. Maybe I would like this task, well, the first task to start, say, next week or next month. So what do I do? By the way, one thing that is not one feature that is not necessarily visible here, you don't see the undo actually button, but the hotkeys are still working. So if I just say I want 10 days, right? And what I'm doing, you don't see it on my screen, but if I'm doing Control Z, it's doing the undo. So it does, it has this undo feature there, but it didn't make it to UI probably. But that's something to be considered. But I did want to kind of remove this for the purpose of showing you the start and finish date. So if I go back and as in my project, an MS project, right? If I go and say, I'd like my project to start on a certain date, and this is by default, a new project starts on this 02/26 because we created this project today. It assumed that the start date is going to be 2/26. But in reality, I want this project to start, say, April 1st, right? Great date, my wife's birthday. So this is where I like my project to start. And I should probably not say where my wife's birthday, but I already did. Anyway, April 1st, okay? So this is where we set now the schedule to start. And if I go back and say create my dynamics by, I don't know, I don't want to set the date, but I do know that it's going to take 5 days. I'm taking 5 days. Now it's scheduling from that 4/1 to 4/7, accommodating those 5 days. Basically, if I do click on that project and change the date afterwards, say I want it to be um, April 30th, then you see how it changes to April 30th automatically. I don't even have to step out. If I change this to this date, it changes my dynamics on the schedule automatically without me changing those days. So be careful, right? It's you gotta know how it works. So if you do change your start date of the project, it may change a lot of dates on your schedule. So watch out for that. However, if you explicitly say, I want this to start on, say, February 27th, right, which is kind of way earlier than our start of the project, this task will have that, constraint in a way, right? So be careful with these dates. Take time to play around with this, but essentially, once I set this to start, on a certain date, no matter what I do with my start date, it would not change. Well, I'll take it back. It does change it relatively, right? It's kind of changing this relatively to the start date. It's assuming that it needed X amount of days to start earlier, start later. Um, there's a lot of the settings that in the task itself. If I go back to the task, I can look at all kinds of details here. What's important for the scheduling is obviously start and finish, duration. Well, we'll talk about buckets and priority. Doesn't really make a lot of changes, but it does have this dependency, which we're going to go through real quick, and the connection to goals. So, by the way, see what we did. See what the also Copilot did. We created the connection to those goals, or also automatically. But we're gonna cover that in a separate webinar. So, point is that some of these dates are relative to each other, right? And then when you change the start date of the project itself, it does change these dates as well. Be aware of that. Now, very interesting way to mention, and this is not necessarily dynamic scheduling, but I do like to mention some of these tasks. If I go and create this checklist, right? If I just go and create a bunch of checklists that I'm assuming that we would have to check, every time we need to do something. Let's just say, this is develop architecture design, create designs, then draft first version of it, and submit, then pre-approve, something like this, right? And then let's assume we're halfway through this. What you will see here is this quick look, and then you view checklist. You can quickly get to this checklist by clicking on it. As well, you can see how much of it you're done. So you can update your percent complete based on this checklist. So there's something that is also here. So now you see that on top of here we have a lot of other items, and we'll get to the board in a second. I'd like to look at the timeline. Since we're in the grid here, I'd like to look at the timeline, which is the same layout of these tasks. It's only the only difference is that it's giving us a little bit of a time look, right? And then it's kind of not easy to zoom in and zoom out. A lot of times I would use this three-dot menu to say scroll to task, right? It would scroll this whole thing to my task and kind of try to fit it in one screen. Well, it's almost fitting in this one screen, but I can always use this zoom out button, and I see this a little bit more. So you can see that I don't have a lot of bars here because only these two tasks have dates. So go back to grid. What we really need to do is to, have some kind of dates in order to kind of see this on the bar. And I'd like to visually see this bar chart or see this Gantt chart, so I can see that waterfall, or see the sequence of those tasks. It kind of visually helps me to understand what it makes sense, what doesn't. So there's a quick way of doing that, and I can just simply copy this. Say the 5 days. I just want 5 days for all of these tasks, and Control C. Would play with Control C, Control V, and all right. I'm just gonna say, this is 5 days. I'm just gonna say 5 days for all. Just for this purpose of simplicity of this. It's not letting me put this for the summer tasks, obviously, because it's using the dynamics of the schedule to calculate it. And you may say, wow, the 3 tasks for 5 days rolls up to a 5 day because they all start on the same day. So I'm just gonna fill this out real quick, and then we're gonna continue with the rest of it. Trying to feed this into a lot of time for this webinar, so you have more content as possible. Well, this AI wasn't joking. It's created a bunch of this tasks. And all right, so now I have dates. I switch to timeline real quick. Once I switch to the time, I can see all of this, stacked up, and then the next thing I'd like to do is to schedule this as a waterfall. So how do I do that? A couple of options. Option number one, what I can do if this say a task, and it takes in this case, I click on it, will show me 17 days, right? By the way, I just manually stretched it, this to a number of days, and it's increased it to 40 days. So you can do this, but I think it's a little bit, too rough to this task. But you can do this manually too. If you're just drafting something really rough magnitude of the schedule, you can do that. Also, what you can do is to link these two, right? You can say, I want this task to be linked to this task, and then I have the dependency. Oh, that's cool, right? And then I can link this one to this one, and it's linking that one task to the other one. So also cool. Do that. And but you already see it's kind of mouth is sticky here. So how do I really do this? Do this more, I would say, more scientific way. I would say you have another option, and I'm gonna lead you to the easiest option at the end, so you can feel the pain a little bit before you know. Oh, you can actually do this all in one click. So there's, in actuality, what it does. Actually, let me open the one that is here in the middle. So this task. So review, design, and worksheet, and design with stick. So what it does, it creates this dependent on, then create dependency on start, finish to start. Familiar dependency types with MS Project, right? And you have a lead time, a leg set up here. So basically, it's saying it's dependent on the task driving, on the task develop or architectural design, right? And then this is the way. So what you can do is you can also, let's say I'd like to set up the link for this task, and here's my menu, right? I can say insert, add a dependency. I'd like to add a dependency. Add a dependency. So in order to add a dependency, see this grayed out. The reason it's grayed out because I have to select two. I just select this, tap it, hold in control button, and now I have two tasks selected. Now I can say add dependency, and what it does, it just linked my finalized design plans with my submit design plans for approval. So I did it to one task. You may ask me, for those who know this project a little bit more, what I'm going to do, I'm going to select, the whole bunch of tasks, right? I'm going to hold the shift button, just select, like in Excel, I'm selecting multiple cells. I can really just this, right? I can say, you know what, I'm just going to link these tasks, and doesn't really matter which three-dot menu I'm going to use for this. So just I'm going to use the last one, say add a dependency, and now I have dependencies, right? You can see that I have dependencies only set up for those detailed tasks. It's also considered a good practice to not create dependency at the summary level. Well, one can argue that this may not be, always practical, but now these two are not linked. I'm going to link them too. So basically, I can quickly go through my entire schedule. I can, start with the ones that are over here, and just scroll all the way down, select the whole thing, click on add dependency, and now I have my entire thing linked. Well, now you can see if I have multiple tasks linked, where I have even it linked even summary tasks as well. So this is not really what I wanted to do. That creates this kind of circular link a little bit. We don't necessarily want this, or we don't necessarily need this if we have dependency between these tasks. This last tasks here and beginning task here. Again, here you can feel free to establish your own dependency. My point is that it's easy to create dependencies. One click, you don't have to, do it one by one. But at the end of the day, if you need to link this too, you can always just use this feature, and then there you go. You have everything linked. Everything is dynamic. Now we're starting this project on, June 20, what is it? June, click on it, June 30th, right? If we end up changing the start date, let's change the start date to like July 28th. Now the whole thing is July, right? So everything is moved based on the dynamics of the schedule. But now, the going back to the grid, you can also see that it created buckets. So the bucket is the Agile or the Scrum related methodology here, where we have different buckets for all these tasks, and then we can move the tasks along those buckets. In this case, we have this in planning, and then in the foundation and framing, electrical. This is what AI did for us. If we were to create a blank project, none of this would have been here. But that's why it's kind of easy to have AI to start with. But now if I switch to the board, I can look at the same project by looking at this buckets, right? We have this bucket, and have a planning bucket, foundation bucket, framing bucket, and all kinds of other buckets. There's also this different, different ways to look at it on the board side. If you're in the agile running sprints, you can click on this sprint, and by default, it will schedule the following month as your default sprint number one, and you can keep adding sprints. After this, you can set the dates for those sprints. So let's just say it's going to be April 1st, April 30th, right? It's going to be say April sprint, and so on and so forth. So that's very very basic. And you can say, yo, this is going to be done in sprint one, right? This is going to be done in the next sprint, and then you can see where things are. And you can use this board for any other purposes. There's all kinds of scenarios. Simply progress, right? You know that something is in progress. You can quickly, push this to progress when it's done, and it's done. When it's done, it actually sets this as completed. And even if you look at this in the grid, develop architectural design, right? See, it already applies this percent completion is 100%, and when I was started, it's a 50%. So there's a way to kind of combine the work, the styles, the way you do it, using these boards. You can use the timeline. And what I also wanted to show you a little bit of a portfolios, which is a new concept here. And let me actually go ahead and do that. Look at my portfolios. This is portfolios, aka roadmaps, and you can create your own. And if you're a manager managing 5, 6, 7, or you're managing you manage a team of project managers, and then you have hundreds of projects potentially. You can roll them up into these portfolios. One of these portfolios would be, I'm going to put this PPM 365 rollout as a portfolio, and in my portfolio I have all these projects, right? And I have all these projects here, and I can, from the portfolio management perspective, I can set the indicators. I can see their progress. This progress is rolled up from the actual project, and here I can say, well, I need to add a new plan to my portfolio, so this way I can pick the plan from existing plans and make it part of my portfolio. Pretty simple, right? But what interesting is here is I can look at the same portfolio as a roadmap. If I go and look at the roadmap, I'll see all my projects that I have as part of my portfolio. All of these projects are here, and I can look into those tasks, right? Like, what is it? What is it ahead of me? What is it we should have done? What we shouldn't? What we haven't done yet? You can also, put some key dates. So you already have some key dates here. Say, key date board meeting, or then the Q1, Q2. Just say I'm going to say Q3. Right, Q3 is going to be what is it, to July? Now it's going to be September. September 30th. This is going to be Q3, Q1, and so on. You can put any other dates and kind of see where you are, how's your roadmap is looking, compared to your portfolio. Again, I can add this new. I can add a new plan. Actually, let's just add the one. There you go. It's a W7 webinar schedule. So by default, we're going to connect and add this project to our portfolio. And I'm going to say, yeah, this is a good project. It's on track, right? And if I look at the roadmap, here it is. I can add rows to my roadmap from my actual plan. And you would see that we have tasks that we just looked at from the same plan, from the W07 webinar schedule. We'll have the tasks coming from here, and we can make it part of our roadmap. That includes a lot of tasks, I guess. Well, while it's pulling these tasks, Yuri, do we have any questions in the meantime?
No, actually, at the moment, we do not. But as always, I left our email address. Feel free to email us directly if any questions come up after the webinar. I know I did schedule this one to be a little shorter, so we are coming up on the half hour. So, and I think we covered a lot of content, but almost seems like we could dive even deeper in some of these features. So maybe we could do even part 2 of this particular one,
Yeah. Taking longer for a new project, but let me just show you for existing project. I can, we can see the tasks from existing project, and I can say I want something like this to be on the map, some other items to not be on the map, on the roadmap, and so on and so forth. It's a building finishes, hit the update. So what it does, kind of pulls the actual tasks from actual projects, into this roadmap. And I can, as a portfolio manager, I can look at things, kind of more aggregated in one screen, and run through this. Obviously, all of this is available in part of our PPM 365 application. PPM 365, we have all these portfolios and programs as part of our solutions, along with other detailed work that we do as far as resource management and program management and change management, risks management, issues management, things like that. So feel free to reach out. We'll be happy to assist in any of these questions. In the meantime, thank you for watching, and see you next time.
Yes, thank you again for those of you who joined us on YouTube and on Zoom. Again, it's all available as a replay on our YouTube channel. This one plus all the other webinars that we recorded in the past. Thank you again for joining us, and we'll see you soon.
All right.